Hey, what's up, how's it going? It's your boy, Don't Soy in the morning with you. Right now, today I'm contributing with a new video. It's going to be what if Deku was born with Quirk, which I'm coming out with now because I'm currently in the process of making what if Shinra has Black Oak Style Part 4, which is going to be Zoro Zoro of Fire Force's backstory, and that's going to be pretty long. It's a pretty long script, it's going to be pretty long, blah blah blah. So I decided I would make this and have something out in the meantime. So we're gonna be getting into this. Don't worry, this is gonna be fire. I read it. I really like it. Hope you'll like it too. Hope you enjoy. Blah blah blah. Let's get into it. Brah. IZUKU Midoriya as a child will be taken to the Quirk doctors by his mother to assess whether or not he had a quirk or not. After some tests, IZUKU discovered that he had a power. It was the ability of pyrokinesis. He gained the power as a combination of his father's flame breath and his mother's telekinetic ability. When he first used the power, he could only conjure up little sparks of flame above his fingertips. But even so, he was elated. He had powers and they were so cool. Inko would congratulate IZUKU and would tell him to be careful. He'd spend the rest of the day trying to get somewhat of a hold on his quirk. The next day, while his classmate, Katsuki Bakugo, was showing off his recently acquired quirk that was the talk of the class, he then showed his. He summoned little flames over his fingers, and the kids and teachers in the class went over to him and told him that he was super cool, and that his quirk was kind of like Bakugo's, as they were both kind of had fiery powers. Bakugo had seen this, everyone flocking over to IZUKU, got annoyed. He went over and told him that his power was still cooler than his, and he better not start thinking that he was the best. IZUKU was visibly confused though, and when Bakugo questioned why he had the look on his face, the boy replied, "Why would I be concerned about being the best? I just want to be a hero like the #1 hero, All Might. One that can save people with a smile." He then gave his own wide smile. The young Katsuki was off-put by the response and frowned. He then stomped away, not knowing what to say. Bakugo at this point had already begun to develop quite a large ego, especially for a little kid, and started to look down on others. But then, to get such a pure response from IZUKU, he steeled new resolve. "Hey, I don't know what's with you, Deku, but fine. I'll work way harder than you will, and I'll be like All Might. No, I'm gonna be even better than him." He said he trained to improve his quirk's proficiency and strength, and told IZUKU to do the same. "Yeah, let's get stronger together, Kachan." Katsuki once again was shocked, as this was supposed to be a declaration to the messy-head boy, that he was going to be his rival. "What?" he went. "But we're friends, right? And since we have kind of similar powers, and we both look up to All Might so much, it would make sense that we'd work together to get a lot stronger, right? Let's go beyond." Fine. But you better be able to keep up. You gotta get a lot stronger if we're gonna go beyond someone as awesome as All Might. Honestly, the conversation got ahead of Bakugo, and he barely knew what to say, and just blurted that out. But now that he said what he said, he decided to stick with it. So, from that day on, Katsuki and IZUKU stuck together, and they trained with each other, strengthening their quirks and friendship in the process. They'd grow to become best friends, and they'd influence each other when it came to training and their personality. Thanks to IZUKU, Bakugo's ego would be in check, and he wouldn't look down on others, instead aiming to make sure that he could surpass all in his way, on the road to surpassing All Might. He'd be less angry, but would still have a pretty abrasive and headstrong personality. IZUKU, after always hanging out with Bakugo, would be less of a pushover, and wouldn't be as prone to cry. He'd also be less shy and more confident, though he would still have his nerdy moments, which is why Katsuki would still sometimes call him Deku, just to mess with him. We then skip forward to the two kids' final year in middle school. This day, they'd be on their way to school when they saw a giant villain that IZUKU began to take notes on. Bakugo looked over his shoulder and just said, "Do you even need to write anything down? With a big guy like that, you should both have enough mobility in the air to be able to maneuver around the guy and easily attack him." IZUKU brushed him off, saying, "Yeah, but I still think I should treat every opportunity like a learning one." Then, two heroes, Mount Lady and Kamui Woods, would arrive on the scene and take care of the villain. A tall chick and an easily flammable twig. Whatever. He then grabbed IZUKU by the collar and dragged him toward school. That day, the homeroom teacher was supposed to pass out career application tests, but threw him in the air, saying that he knew all the kids there just wanted to be heroes. They all responded by flashing their powers, saying, "Heck yeah, we do!" Bakugo responded to the hollering of all his fellow students by jumping on top of his desk and yelling, "All of you can try your hardest, but none of your best will outshine mine. You'll see an example of that when I make it to UA, and I take Midoriya with me." The class then looked toward the messy-haired boy, who just tried to cover his face with his hair, but then he stuck out his middle and pointer finger, making a U and A out of fire. "Don't get it twisted, I will be going to UA." Katsuki smirked. Everyone in the class knew how strong and smart the two were, and none really doubted the fact that they could get into the school. After school was over, the two best friends left to go into town and hang out. As they sipped sodas while walking under a bridge, a manhole cover began to rapidly shake and out flew a Sludge villain. "Two potential Sludge suits. Whatever gets me away from that All Might bastard." The villain slinked around the two, surrounding them. "Oh crap! This guy's a monster! Did he say he was running away from All Might?" IZUKU blurted out. He then felt a hand on his shoulder and saw it was Bakugo, with a large grin on his face. "Being chased by All Might, huh? So I guess it'd be pretty of us to take this dude out for him." He pounded his hand to his fist and saw an explosion. IZUKU smiled back, conjuring flames over his fingertips. "Okay, Kachan, let's burn this mother down." IZUKU balled his fist, causing the flames to get smothered, and then he breathed in deeply. When he breathed out, he opened his hands wide, conjuring fire surrounding him. While Bakugo began blasting in multiple directions, hitting different parts of the Sludge villain, IZUKU began to rotate the fire around him, and all at once, expanded it and pushed it all into different directions. Flame War! Causing it to hit the villain, but not Bakugo, as he propelled himself into the air to dodge the attack. After the successful attack, the villain was in multiple smoking globs on the ground. The two walked up to a piece of the head, wondering what they should do with it now, and then, as they were preparing a blast to make sure it didn't weasel its way out of there, they'd once again hear the rumbling of the manhole cover, and All Might would fly out. "You were quite the hassle to track, but now I am All Might cut his sentence off abruptly when he saw the villain he was chasing in pieces, and the cause seemingly being two young boys. The two were awestruck at seeing All Might appear out of nowhere, IZUKU especially. His mouth and eyes were wide open, and Bakugo, seeing this, smacked him in the head to snap him out of the state. "No way! All Might! It's really you! Wow!" The hero was quickly rushed by the boy, who put out his notebook to be signed, and flooded him with a million questions. "Wait a minute. Tell me, was it you two who did this?" Pointing to the villain all over the ground. Bakugo stepped up. "Heck yeah! He spouted something about being on the run from you, so we thought we'd throw our favorite hero a bone and take him down. Pretty cool, right?" All Might knew these kids weren't supposed to be using their quirks without licenses, but even still, the response he gave was, "Super cool!" He then wondered something and asked the two their names and grade. When they said that they were third years in middle school, he asked them if they were thinking about going to UA, to which the boys quickly and excitedly responded yes. This made the hero give his trademark giant smile, thinking with kids like this, he should have a good chance at finding a successor when he began teaching at the school. "Well then, I'm excited to see the fruits of your labor from this point forward." He then, in a blur, rushed around the two, trapping the villain in a bottle and signing IZUKU's book. Just as soon as he appeared, he began to launch off. But, just before he was gone, Bakugo grabbed IZUKU by the back of his collar and then grabbed onto the leg of All Might, causing him to have to land on a rooftop. "Hey, what's the meaning of this?" the hero asked. Bakugo walked up to his idol. "All my life I've been training to surpass you, to go beyond the #1 hero. Same with Midoriya over there. You've been the goal that's kept me grounded. You saw what we did to that villain. So, just tell me, what do you think?" All Might, even though he could feel himself encroaching upon his limit, could feel the intensity of the young man in front of him, and didn't feel it was right to just leave. Just as he was about to respond to the young man, he ran out of time and deflated into his small Might form. Both boys were instantly shocked and asked what happened to the giant, grandstanding man that was standing in front of them, and why there was now a small skeleton of a man in front of them. All Might would calm them down, and proceed to explain his injury and that he only had so much time to do hero work now. Both boys would be almost shell-shocked at the state of their role model, but would straighten out during his explanation. But anyway, the hero started. Back to your question. With you dealing with the Sludge villain, what do I think? Well, All Might once again wasn't able to get out his answer, since Midoriya interjected, "Wait a minute! The bottle! Where is he?" Neither the villain nor the Tulia he was confined in could be spotted by any of the three, and began to panic. They immediately got down to the street and started to search. Eventually, they arrived on the scene of the Sludge villain trying to take over the body of an innocent bystander, with none of the surrounding heroes being able to act. Dang it! It's all 'cause of me! Bakugo snarled. He knew that if he hadn't grabbed onto All Might, none of this would have happened. As he stood there, gritting his teeth and balling his fists, Midoriya grabbed his shoulder in attention. We don't have time to sit here feeling sorry. We took him down once. Let's do it again. Bakugo looked to his friend and nodded. Before All Might could say anything, the two blasted off. Bakugo flew over the crowd of civilians and heroes, being the first to make it to the villain. He used explosions in the lower parts of the villain, throwing him off balance while trying to avoid causing harm to the hostage. Then, IZUKU propelled himself toward where the hostage was in the sludge, now shooting flames from his feet and beginning to try to pull them out. The surrounding heroes yelled at the two, but couldn't rightfully tell him to stop, as they couldn't do anything, but those two could. IZUKU could then be seen pulling on the hostage, trying to get them out. He blasted fire at the sludge, but there was just more to take its place. Dang it! I'm not gonna let you get away with this! Ah! Then, before they knew it, the two boys and the hostage were all in the clutches of All Might, who was winding up a punch. I'm impressed. You boys have it. What all heroes need. What made me know I had to act. The willingness to put it all on the line. The number one then used his signature move, the Detroit Smash, taking out the villain and changing the very weather with his punch. Before anyone could adjust, he left the former hostage in the care of the heroes, and dashed away with the messy-headed boys. When he was far enough away, he put them down and de-transformed. The boys questioned why he transformed in the first place after what he told them on the roof. He explained that he was inspired by their actions, that he too could not just stand there feeling sorry. As for the answer to your question from earlier, I was serious. I see great strength in you boys, bravery, and spirit. I'm extremely impressed and have no doubt that you'll both make great heroes. Receiving such high praise from the hero that they both looked up to the most made both boys feel like $1,000,000. IZUKU let some tears leak out. Bakugo couldn't wipe off the massive grin that formed on his face. That's what makes this next part tricky though. The boys are not confused. He continued. I believe one of you is meant to inherit my quirk. One for all.